But there's been an American nightmare that has accompanied that, and that's where people that equally have tried to get educated and worked hard and had good habits have found themselves living a life that's been on the edge throughout their entire lives, and the same for their children.
Over the past few years, many Americans have been living the American nightmare instead of the American dream. Did you know that 58% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck? I've done a lot of research on how Warren Buffett got rich and found something surprising. It turns out he has found 6 key mistakes that are keeping people poor, and I'm going to share them with you today. Number 1. Zero balance. Let's say you have $50 in your bank account. Normally, when you think you have $50 in your bank account, you assume you also have $50 to spend, right? Well, this mindset may backfire big time.
My advice to you is, if you can't pay for it, don't buy it, and get yourself in a position where you can pay for anything, and then we'll be glad to see you at Borsheim's or the Nebraska Furniture Mart.
As Buffett says here, don't buy what you can't afford. Just because you have $50 doesn't mean you can afford to spend $50. This is exactly what zero balance thinking is about. Zero balance thinking is the killer of wealth. It's also the reason why income isn't what determines whether you are broke or rich. For instance, Warren Buffett maintains his current lifestyle on just $100K a year, even though he's the 5th richest person in the world. On the flip side, if you make $40K a year and spend $40K a year, you're still broke. If you make $100K a year and spend $100K a year, you're still broke. What you need to do is allocate a portion of your paycheck to your savings and investment accounts. Pay yourself first. This way, you're prepared for emergencies and investments, allowing your money to start growing over time. I mean, take a look at Warren Buffett's history.
On this March 11th, in a couple of weeks, it'll be 77 years since I bought my first stock. And I paid $114.75 for 3 shares of City Service Preferred.
Let me share an example with you to clarify zero balance thinking. I had a coworker I used to be close with. She had a keen interest in fashion and often wore stylish clothing. That month, we both received a bonus check of about $250 because the company was doing well. When I discussed this with my coworker, she mentioned that she used the check to buy a new pair of pants. That's right, she spent her entire bonus on a new pair of pants, rather than investing or saving it. You would be surprised how extremely common this mindset is, especially with the lower class. So, how do you fix it? There's a simple rule to follow, the rule of 5. If you can't afford 5 of the items you want to buy with cash, then you can't afford the item at all. That means if you have $50, you should only consider buying something that costs $10. It's crucial to keep things simple. In the words of Warren Buffett, I don't look to jump over 7-foot bars. I look around for 1-foot bars that I can step over. Don't make your path to wealth harder than it needs to be. Avoid zero balance thinking at all costs. Number 2, payment traps. A lot of people who look rich really aren't rich. They just look rich. They have very expensive things, and it makes you wonder how on earth they can afford that when you can't. Well, Warren Buffett has this to say about those who look rich. Only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. In other words, only when you look carefully, you see who's actually rich and who's simply pretending to be rich. For example, let's say someone you know bought a new Mercedes recently. It's a beautiful car, and they only have $350 in monthly payments for it. However, just because they can afford $350 in monthly payments doesn't mean they can afford it brand new with cash up front. In other words, they can't afford it. What this leads to is the illusion that you can spend more money than you actually have because you're not paying a huge sum for the item up front, like $41,000 for a new Mercedes. One particular area you'll see this a lot is with zero APR deals. At this point, you can buy almost anything with a zero APR rate and pay in monthly installments. For instance, an inflatable kayak on Amazon that costs between $150 and $300 can be put in monthly installments of $20 to $30 a month. These installments can make you think you can afford way more items, but you end up having to pay the full amount back anyway. And when you have to pay for not just a car at $350, but a couch at $75 a month and plenty of other items in your home, on top of things like credit card debt, you'll be broke forever.
The other one is from people who run up credit card debt and they're facing bankruptcy or they've been through bankruptcy once before and they owe a whole bunch of money and they can't even pay the interest, let alone pay any principal. And half of my letters come from people like that, and that problem is avoidable.
So, Don't get caught in payment traps designed to keep you broke. Number 3. Compounding. Once you've overcome payment traps and the zero balance mindset, you can focus on compounding your money. Compounding is the magical effect that takes money and grows it at an exponential rate.
When we get chances to deploy the capital, we've always tried to make any entity, whether it was the partnership originally or Berkshire now or Blue Chip Stamps when we owned it or even diversified reading, we wanted them all to be compounding, in effect be compounding.
However, if you want your money to grow using this magical effect, you'll need to understand the difference between two words that Warren Buffett knows better than anyone. What are these two words? Assets and liabilities. Assets are things you own that put money in your pocket, and liabilities are things you buy that take money out of your pocket. So, assets are things like dividend-paying stocks or real estate, whereas liabilities are the car you own, the clothes you buy, or a new cell phone. What broke people do is buy things that make them look rich, but since they're liabilities, they're not truly rich. When you flip this around and start focusing on buying assets, you can truly become rich. In fact, you can become so rich that you can easily buy liabilities, since the assets you own generate so much cash that you can afford those liabilities with cash. This will become easier to understand with an example. I knew someone who was doing really well financially and was looking for their next steps. They thought about buying a new car that would make them look really cool and one that they've always wanted. However, they were also very interested in personal finance and what they could do to grow their wealth. They read several books and always found that rich people owned real estate. Even Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger did.
We've both had a fair amount of experience in real estate, and Charlie made his early money in real estate.
So, my friend decided to buy a small apartment complex instead. After a month of getting the place ready to rent, they got a tenant and started earning $300 in profit every single month. This is a perfect example of how an asset generates cash and how a liability, while looking cool, leaves you with nothing to show for it. The best part is that you don't need tons of cash to experience compounding effects. Real estate is expensive, but you can buy assets like stocks that give dividends with as little as $5 a day, a week, or even a month. You can do as little or as much as you're comfortable with. One thing to note is that assets aren't the same as keeping your money in a savings account. A savings account will barely grow your money with your earned income. This is income that you work hard for, and you can't work hard forever. And you probably don't want to either. You deserve to have that freedom to do what you want. You need your money to work for you and grow, and that's just what assets do. The more money you have in assets, the faster it'll grow, and the faster you'll get rich. One simple rule to use compounding effectively is the 5-to-1 rule. That means for every $5 you spend on liabilities, $1 goes into assets. If you spend $15 at Walmart, then you invest $3 into Walmart. If you spend $80 at Costco, then you invest $16 in Costco. Number 4, flashy lifestyle. The sad reality is that social media hypes things up a lot. They show tons of people who look rich, but are really not rich at all. In fact, there have been several stories of people who have incurred thousands of dollars of debt just to look good on Instagram. It's a simple fix, but avoid the flashy lifestyle. Take a look at Warren Buffett. No one ever sees a brand on his suits. He eats cheap, and he lives in the very first home he bought. Yet, look how rich he is. You can follow in his footsteps, find the things that actually matter in your life, and at the same time, build up wealth. Number 5, one income source. Unless you have millions of dollars invested, you're probably still relying on your job to pay the bills. And if you lose your job, you either go into debt or sell your investments at a loss. That's why it's so important to have multiple streams of income. In case one of them goes bust, you can sleep peacefully knowing that your other income sources will still cover your living expenses. Most millionaires and billionaires start with just one source of income before diversifying into multiple streams. So if you're currently working a 9-to-5 job, then you are in the perfect position to add another stream of income. This is essential because you never know when your employer decides to save money and terminate your employment. Over 10,000 highly skilled Facebook employees learned this lesson the hard way earlier this year, after getting fired. But don't start looking for a second job. That's a horrible way to earn extra income. The last thing you want to do after returning home from a long day of work is to head out to a second job. Instead, you need to add a passive income source that can generate money while you sleep. In the famous words of Warren Buffett, if you don't learn to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. That's why I recently started a passive income side hustle to earn an extra few $1,000s per month. It's beginner-friendly and only requires a phone and an internet connection to start. Click the link in the description to learn more. Number 6. Step ahead. While we can sit here and make excuses, saying that businesses are evil because they all want your money, the truth is, we're all trying to survive and earn a living. That's how things have always been and will always be. The key idea here is that we all are able to make a simple choice, to buy or not to buy. Most people just don't have a filter. They buy things they don't need just because they want them. When you can develop a filter and not buy things you don't need just to satisfy your impulse, you'll notice how much quicker your bank balance grows. One of the best places to invest your money is in your education. After all, Warren Buffett didn't become a billionaire just by clicking buy and sell on a computer screen. He made his billions by leveraging his knowledge to make the right decision at the perfect time. If you want to learn how you can start a passive income business online, click the link in the pinned comment and take action to make your dreams a reality. What matters is preparation. Predicting rain doesn't count. Building arcs does. Warren Buffett.